La Cocina is based on Arnold Wesker play The Kitchen. What drew you to this particular play, and why did you feel it was the right material for a film adaptation in this year?
Well, I read that play when I was studying in drama in London, and I was working after school in a kitchen in a restaurant to help pay for my studies, and what I was reading in the play helped me make more sense of my working days there, which the days in kitchen work are tough and very stressful.
Yeah.
But seeing it through this light helped me understand it and make sense of it.
The film is set in Manhattan, New York, yet principal photography took place in Mexico City. How did you manage to capture the essence of New York City in a different location?
That was a nice challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we shot the exteriors in New York.
Okay.
We shot for a week and a half there in New York.
Okay.
And then the rest we shot in Mexico because we had more control. But the way we did it was we made sure that we had the melting pot. The cast was the key.
Yeah.
We brought people from different parts of the world, and we made sure that that we rehearsed for 3-4 weeks before shooting. So we did a lot of improvisations.
Okay.
And so that made everyone kind of focus and believe in this environment that we were creating, where English is the main language. We kind of had to switch it around.
Okay.
And so I think that brought a very believable atmosphere.
Shooting La Cocina in black and white gave the film a timeless, surreal quality. What was the motivation behind this visual choice, and how did you want it to impact the viewer's experience?
I think it's precisely that I wanted the movie to feel timeless, and to for people to be able, not to be able to say, well, this is 2024 or this is 1980, but somewhere in between, and because it's something that keeps happening, this it's something that doesn't have a definite time. This sort of experience. The play is from that the film is based on. It's from the 1950s, and it still feels relevant today.
Yes.
So that was important. And the other thing was, I wanted it to present it, to frame it like a fable, where it wasn't realism. There was something beyond realism. That was important for the film.
The immigrant experience is a significant theme in La Cocina. Can you talk a little about how you approach portraying this struggle in the high-pressure environment of a restaurant kitchen?
Well, we had to first, it was a two-part process, first to create a restaurant, a working restaurant. So what we did was we hired a chef that created a menu for us.
Yes.
Kitchens are built. They are designed according to the menu.
Yes.
The kitchens are not. It doesn't work like you have a kitchen and then you decide what food you make. It's the other way around. You first decide what food you're going to serve, and according to that, the kitchen is designed. So we hired a chef. We decided on the menu.
Yes.
We designed the kitchen in that sense, and then we made it work. And and the actors came in to learn for 1 month before shooting. They took cooking classes.
Yes, of course.
And they each learned to make the dishes that their character is making. So once we had like a functioning kitchen, then we figured out how to tell that with the camera. So it was a two-part process.
The character Estella, a Mexican immigrant, is central to the film's narrative. What inspired you to explore her journey, and how does she reflect the broader immigrant experience in America?
Sorry, can you...
Sorry, yes. The character Estella, a Mexican immigrant, is central to the film's narrative. What inspired you to explore her journey, and how does she reflect the broader immigrant experience in America?
Yeah, I think Estella is she is like our Virgil in the Divina Commedia.
Yes.
She is our guide. She
Yes.
takes us, the audience, inside
Yes.
the maze, which is the kitchen.
Yes.
Because she's the first timer. She's the recently arrived. So I needed fresh eyes
Yes, of course.
to go into the kitchen. So that's what she represents, the fresh eyes, the virgin eyes
Yes.
that see everything with surprise, fascination, and fear at first. And then once we go in, then we switch characters and she
Okay.
becomes a secondary character.
Yes. The restaurant's kitchen is portrayed as a chaotic, almost battleground-like setting. What challenges did you face in creating such a dynamic environment, and how did you work with your cast and crew to maintain this energy?
Well, like I said,
Yeah.
we did period of rehearsals.
Okay.
We rehearsed. We brought all the cast down to Mexico to rehearse for 4 weeks.
Okay.
And and then we created these relationships, and they learned how to cook. And so I think it was through a process of rehearsal
Okay.
that we tightened things and made them faster and faster and faster. But it was a process of rehearsal.
Pedro, played by Raúl Brunes, emerged as a key figure in the story. What do you do his character, and what do you think his journey represents in the broader narrative of the film?
I think he represents the dreamer. You know, he is the person who is not content with what life gives him. He wants more. There's two kinds of people. There's people that are that settle
Yes.
for what life gives them, and there are people who search and want more. And I think he is the second kind. He wants more. Yeah.
You are working with a blend of Mexican and international actors, including Rooney Mara and Ada Diaz. How did you approach casting for such a diverse set of characters?
We had 3 casting directors,
Okay.
one in Mexico,
Okay.
one in the US, and one in Europe.
Okay.
So it was, and I wanted unknown faces, except for Rooney Mara, of course. We needed somebody that had that star quality, because that is how Pedro sees her.
Yes.
He sees her as as something else.
Yes.
So it made sense that we had a Hollywood star for that role. Also, she's a fantastic actress that I wanted to work with.
The film highlights issues such as exploitation, racism, and sexism within the restaurant industry. How did you balance addressing these social issues with the personal story of the characters?
Well, that was in this. I mean, that took a lot of rewriting.
Yeah.
And trying to finesse that and arrive at a balance between developing characters and I think it's always through the characters. You have to try to avoid to see things from the outside and to preach themes, but let the themes spring out from the character.
Raúl Brunes, portrayed as Pedro, is intense and complex. How did you and Raúl collaborate to bring such a volatile yet vulnerable character to life?
Sorry,
Raúl Brunes, portrayal of Pedro, is intense and complex. How did you and Raúl collaborate to bring such a volatile yet vulnerable character to life?
Well, Raúl is a fantastic actor. I think, and he's a very disciplined actor. He didn't know English before this film, and so he learned English. He had a lot of scenes in English with Julia, so that was impressive to see him learn English. And then it was all a question of, talking a lot and also adjusting the character in the rehearsal process that we had. Little by little, start to find him and to bring Raúl closer to the character that I had in mind, we met somewhere in between, I guess.
La Cocina features moments of quiet introspection amidst the chaos. How important were their pros in the narrative, and what did you hope the audience will take away from them?
From the moments of quiet?
Yes.
Well, I think counterpoint is important. I think if the film was all the time like, then you wouldn't. It wouldn't work, I think, so I always try to look for counterpoint. I structured this film musically.
Yes.
More for me, it was like musical movement, and so there's like an allegro, and then there's like an adagio, and then there's like the resolution. So I think these moments are important because they help you understand what has happened before. They give you pause, they give the characters pause, and they give the audience pause to understand what has happened before, to settle into a different mood before you go into the final climax.
The relationship between Pedro and Julia, played by Ruiz, is fraught with tension, especially around Julia's pregnancy. How did you develop this subplot, and what does it add to the overall story?
I think the love story is something that I had always wanted to make a love story. In my movies, it's something that I hadn't really explored, I think.
Okay.
And so I wanted a love story, but that was flawed, that was doomed to fail. So I think their relationship adds another dimension to the movie because it's something that gives hope to the spectator. They hope that it will work out. They hope that they will end up together.
You have directed feature films, short films, and even episodes of TV series. How did your experience across these different formats influence your approach to this movie?
Well, every previous experience is a learning experience for me. I try to make a different film each time and not the same film.
Of course.
So hopefully this was the case here.
La Cocina premiered at the Berlin International Film Festival earlier this year. How has the reception been so far, and what have you learned from audience reactions?
I think it's a film that provokes interesting dialogue with the audience. I think it's some. I've had quite a few people come up to me and say this made me think of my parents. Like lots of people who have immigrant parents, especially they've been touched with the film. I think, it's been an interesting set of reactions. It's been different everywhere, but I don't know.
Perfect. The film is quite long. Were there any challenges during the editing process, and how did you decide what scenes were essential to keep?
Well, it's always challenging. Editing is always that selection process. I think you stop when the producer says that's it, we stop here. I could have gone on editing for another 6 months, but fortunately we had to hand it in to Berlin. I think it's a trial and error process. It's always trying again new things, and it's an investigation. I think I approach it with a spirit of investigation.
Music and sound design play a critical role in creating the atmosphere of this movie. Can you tell us about your collaboration with Tomás Barreiro on the score, and I knew you wanted sound to complement the visuals?
So Tomás is somebody that I've worked with a lot. He did the score for my first 2 movies.
Okay.
And now this one. We're really good friends, so we have a lot of musical understanding together. We share interests and passions in music. So it's always easy and fun to work with him. And for this movie, I had this idea that I wanted music that felt religious, that felt like it came from somewhere else. And so I found this music that is Welsh choirs, which are only male choirs, only men singing.
Yes.
Because to me that kind of brought the element of sailors, you know, and kitchens are like a little bit like a pirate ship, because there's a lot of people, mostly men, inside kitchens, and they come from everywhere, like a pirate ship. And so having a nautical element, it just made it seem like it was just an intuition, I think, and it also adds, like I said, like a spiritual dimension to the image.
As someone who was working both on stage and in film, how did your background in stage directing inform your approach to adapting a stage play like The Kitchen to the screen?
Well, it's a challenge because I didn't want it to feel like a play, obviously. I wanted it to be a visual experience. But at the same time, I wanted the challenge of making a film that happened in the same place and in a continuous time. So that kind of, it was a theater setting, but I wanted to approach it in a cinematic way. So it was just a challenge that I set myself, and hopefully it's a cinematic experience, because I try to, you have to translate dialogue into images. So so it was a thing of taking a lot of dialogue out, or making dialogue be just soundscape rather than meaningful dialogue like it is in a play. A lot of the dialogue is just noise around, and the point is what is happening with the image. That was the approach.
What means for you to be selected in the American Film Festival in Deauville?
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I had never been before.
Yeah, first time. Okay.
But I was impressed that it's such a big festival.
Yes.
And so it was beautiful to see the screening yesterday with a full house.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, really nice.
And my next question, what do you hope audience take away from La Cocina, especially regarding the theme of human struggle, dignity and survival?
I hope that it makes us think about the people we decide not to see, who are in the service industry, who are we often just, they bring us our coffee and we just go, or we go to a restaurant, but we don't think about the lives that are there behind.
Yes, of course.
Making this happen. So hopefully this makes us just look and make them visible, and hopefully be more empathetic towards them. And also, I think it's a film that talks about something that is happening in Europe now, as well as in the US, where it's set, which is the migration crisis, and how we need a humanitarian approach to solve that crisis.
Perfect. Can I take some